a thing with two young so-called African American or black boys, then it wouldn't have been national news. It'd have been something that was just like either swept under the rug, like it didn't happen, or everyone would have been like, it's get shot
Mhm.
every day, B. You know what I mean? So it definitely wouldn't have been anything, and that has something to do with the trauma, the past trauma that we've been through. For one, we've been through a great deal of emotional turmoil, just going through chattel slavery to finally becoming set free, and then when we set free, it's a arduous uphill battle, and to get the rights that we believe that we were, uh, or let me rephrase that, to obtain the rights that are due to anyone. You know what I mean? Especially um, the Heavenly Father's chosen. And with that being the case, this is the reason why it's like uh, it is a mental trigger for us to see the injustice of, or to continue to see the injustices of the descendants of those who captured us continue to be brutalized by them. It's
Mhm.
like, man, their frustration. And I can understand it. I mean, when I see these type of things, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I just think that we're grasping at straws instead of moving our feet in the right direction. Because
Mhm.
it's like, what are we really fighting for when we doing it that way? And that way is not to say what Carmelo did. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about the protesters and the marches. We've been marching for 70 some years. And I don't know how much change we're gonna get from marching, first thing first. And now we've moved from marching with dignity to marching with anarchy
Mhm.
and a bunch of chaos. It's not like these marches are ones where back in the day, they went out there, they sang together, we shall overcome. They sang together versus
Mhm.
these chants that seem to be sometimes incoherent. Like I hear one thing here and hear another thing there, and it's not always together. But I don't think that's besides the point. The point that I'm making is that we're doing things the same way. Only thing that has changed is I don't believe. I mean, I see a greater deal of chaos in the
Mhm.
mix of doing the same.
No,
So
I
it's time to
completely
start
agree.
doing something. Go ahead.
I was saying I completely agree. It seems like we're fighting for a seat at the table to be included in the conversation, but not fighting the same for the respect. Not fighting for a change as far as optics are concerned. Um, I think that optics play a part in the vast majority of how things are played out. If we would go back to peaceful protests and actually doing it together cohesively, everybody doing it like it was back in the day, the boycotts, everybody not getting on the bus. I don't care what, and if I see you getting on the bus, I'm going to get you off that bus because as a community, we were holding each other accountable, and we're saying no, we're all going to stand together for this injustice. I don't see that happening. It seems like there is a very strong divide amongst black people, period, where some people are like, you know, it's not my child, that didn't happen to me, so I really don't care about it. And then you have the other side where they're hood and speaking incoherent, and it's, you may have a point to make, but the message is not being received because of the messenger. We saw so many, videos of people doing the protests, um, and I couldn't even pay attention to what one of the young ladies was saying because all I could see was that you got a little mini wine bottle in your hand. Why are you at a protest with a wine bottle? It's just nobody is going to take us seriously, and that's the thing that's happening. We keep putting our foot down and saying, oh, we want this respect, we want this type of treatment, but we're doing it the wrong way, that is not received by the majority of people that aren't protesting. And the people that aren't protesting are like, yep, there they go again, looting and rioting and screaming and hooting and hollering. And it's not being received. So I think that if we change our tactic and stand together with a voice as opposed to being separated with a voice, it would have a lot more of an impact.
I think that the separation you're speaking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, is more along the lines of theology and how we see the situation, how we theoretically rationale what happened. Um, you have many who are seeing this only from the lenses of boiling blood and anger.
Hmm.
And then you have those who see it from the lenses of rectification. How do we rectify the situation? Or not even rectification, let me not use that word. How about how do we isolate and eradicate these situations from happening anymore? And I think that's what a divide is. It's really important that we begin to understand how to move forward. It is my thought process, and this is my thought process. I ain't telling everybody what to think. I'm not telling anybody what to think. Just expressing myself. But it's my thought process that these things will not happen if two things happen. The first one is we return to the Heavenly Father and keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. Secondly, if we remove ourselves from this place, or let me rephrase that, if we remove ourselves from popular society, as long as we continue to play their game, how can we ever win? It's their game,
Hmm.
their rules. And I'm not speaking this in the capacity of saying that the so-called white man, this, that, and third, is just so evil and wicked. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the people who took us from one place, brought us here, and began to utilize us as the means to develop a nation. Those people have rules in place, and we are never ever going to be able to fully free ourselves as long as we're abiding by their rules, meaning playing their game. It's their game that the young man has a father, Metcalf's father, who is politically in tune. I don't know if he's best friends with, play golf with, go shoot pool on the weekend with the prosecution and the judge. And apparently, I don't know how true it is because I haven't looked necessarily at this particular piece of information, but it said that he also shares the same last name of the warden of the prison that Carmelo's going to. Now, of course, do we like that? No. Does any of that seem like it's fair? Most certainly not. But guess what? It's their game. They get in tune, they get in power. Well, ain't no get in power. They've maintained power all these hundreds of years. And now their descendants who they've left power to are just rocking it out with the power that they have. And all we try and do is fight to get a table or get a seat at their table to ask for some power of their power. People with power don't give up power.
Not easily.
I'll say it again, people with power don't give up power. So how about we go empower ourselves by way of adhering to the Heavenly Father's instructions? That's a very simple solution. It's simplistic in nature and thinking, yes. Is it simplistic in actually applying? I still say yes. I still say yes. It's not hard that I stay in the house, and let me rephrase that. It's not hard that I go worship the Heavenly Father on the Shabbat. It's not hard. That could have not, that, for a lot of the murders or a lot of the things, the tragedies that happen, usually happen on those in between that time, so-called Friday and so-called Saturday. If I'm not out there and I'm worshiping Heavenly Father, this doesn't happen. Not these kind of tragedies. Yet, the moment we start doing this thing, something else may happen. But I'd rather go ahead and start dealing with something else than continue to see the same thing happening and having to deal with this tragedy the way we are. Um,
I think we need to get back to a place of healthy separation. I don't think that there is anything wrong with righteous segregation. I'm gonna say it like that.
ooh,
Uh,
you done said a curse word. They're gonna start doing this.
I think segregation has its time and its place. Um, I mean, even if you want to look at the situation of Carmelo, I'm from Texas. I know. I was telling you about it. Yes, there are certain cities and certain counties. I know as a Houstonian, you do not, as a Black Houstonian, you don't go there. Why? Because they're racist. I would never go and try to buy a plot of land in Vidor, Texas. I would never go buy a house in Collin County, which is where Carmelo was at this game, or where he was, where this trial was taking place, was in Collin County. I would never do it. I would never do it. So I think that as Black people, we got to stop fighting for that seat at the table. We have to. We got to make our own table. All of these people that are protesting out here with such vitriol and a voice to say something, I think that we need to band together. Um, Not everybody, because some people, you know, I'm speaking to the righteous ones. We need
Mhm.
to come together. You know, let's right now there's a protest that's taking place because of the Rick Child situation, where the 14-year-old boy was killed after allegedly stealing a few water bottles. um the
Nah,
Black
he didn't
community,
do anything.
that's why I said allegedly. According to Rick Chow, he
Right.
did, but we saw the footage. Anyway, I think that as a community, Black people are starting to not they're starting to boycott Asian businesses. So they're not going to the Chinese restaurants anymore. They're not going to Asian owned beauty supplies or nail salons. That's the type of step that we need to take, but it needs to be a community wide, cohesive agreement that this is something that we're going to do. And while we're at it, we need to stop settling down in cities where it's clear and obvious we're not well. And if we do have a Black community,
Man,
we keep that Black community up. It needs to not be a situation where, you look across the street and you see all of these dilapidated houses. You know, if we're going to have a community, we need to have a community, and we need to keep, and we also need to be exclusive about the type of people that we invite inside of those communities to prevent certain things from happening. If we, if you got Joe down the street that is a drug dealer, Joe can't come over here. Or if Joe does want to come over here, he has to get in line with the ordinances. Go ahead.